Good morning, Internet, and welcome to an Oxygen Not Included Tech Tips video. My first video for Oxygen Not Included was on a sour gas boiler setup, which looked pretty much like this. I saw something similar online, built it in survival, and it worked so well I just kept building it. But I never did any science behind it. So I was like, oh, this should be, about 20 tall, and it should kind of look like this, and it can do 2 kilos a second. And it works. It works fantastic. But I decided that I should probably do the science and figure out how big does it have to be? What can you actually do with it? So I've actually shrunk that down to this. Let's slow this down. This sour gas boiler does 2 kilos a second. That is enough to run. The way the math works is each kilo of sour gas is almost 7.5 natural gas generators. So this runs 14, almost 15 natural gas generators off of this. So the way the science worked out was with thermium pipe. You can see right here, it's already up to the flash point. Flash point of oil or petroleum is 540. This sensor is set to 550. So as soon as these 1 kilo packets get above 550, it's gonna flash as soon as it comes out. So that's it. This oil's coming in at about 100, which is usually where you get it. If it's colder than that, that's fine. This has got more than enough room. So that is 6 tiles of thermium pipe. That's it. That's all you need for the heat to heat up the counterflow. If you're using gold over here, then it is 8 pipes. That's it. That's all the space you need. Now the plumbing on this gets a little complicated because trying to fit 2 1 kilo pipes into a 2 wide setup is tough. These liquid valves down here are necessary. There is something wrong in the game where 1 kilo packets of methane can change state. So if you just have these pump directly, you'll end up with pipes breaking due to hot or cold damage. I've never really figured out which. So you need to have these to regulate the flow. These mini pumps are only going to pick up 1 kilo. And because I'm doing this 2 wide, they have to be upright. So the whole reason this is 6 high is because you need 4 for this setup. And then for the radiant pipe, 3, it turns out, is good enough. So if we watch the temperature overlay, up here, it's stupid hot, right? This stuff coming in is very hot coming down, but you don't need it to be cold right here. This radiant pipe right here already gets it from 100 degrees. Now the sour gas is down to bouncing between negative and positive. Then as it comes down, there's temp shift plates back here. So that's already bringing it down. The sour gas is at negative a lot, and then condensing. Now this is an all thermium setup. So these pipes are thermium, these plates are thermium, because thermium has the best thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity of 220. Diamond only has a thermal conductivity of 80. So that is why you want to use thermium if you have it. If you don't have it, aluminum. Aluminum has a conductivity of 205. And then these radiant pipes I did out of gold. But these radiant pipes are aluminum. You can't use aluminum up here because this will get too hot and will melt aluminum. Yeah, so that's it. This whole system works fantastic. As you can see, I've been running this for quite a few cycles. I'll include the save file in the description of the video. We'll go over some of the things you need to know when building this. You don't want too much water up here. Between 50 and 100 kilograms is all you want per tile. If you have too much water, it will take way too long to heat up the system, and you'll end up freezing everything, and it's awful. So 50 and 100 kilograms makes this nice and stable. This is set to 550. Some airflow tiles, some temp shift plates, diamond or thermium, depending on what you have. This is set down at negative 175, which is if we can find some liquid methane. So methane freezes at negative 182, so you want to give it a few degrees on this side so you don't end up freezing it at any point. Over here is just an on-off switch for this liquid shutoff, and then these are each set to 1 kilogram. We'll go over the bridging. So in order to fit two pipes next to each other inside of here, there's a lot of bridges stacked. And so all that is just a bridge on top of a bridge, and then moving. This bridge comes over, then connects up one to get to that second bridge. Same thing over here. This bridge comes across, drops down, and then bridges over the supercoolant to get out of there. And then the supercoolant bridges over those pipes. If you've worked with pipe, you know how to bridge stuff around. Now up here, this one's using a steam turbine to cool it. Steam turbines won't produce a whole lot of heat. Up here, you want the liquid to be low, like 10 kilograms. And the reason for that is you want this steam turbine to be able to lower the heat of this water fast. When this door closes, and here we'll go back up to a higher speed. When this door closes, it's going to inject a lot of heat. Down here is 640. This is set to 650. As soon as this door closes, a lot of this heat's going to get injected in, and it will be too hot for the steam turbine. And steam turbines will produce a lot of heat. Once they get above 200 degrees, you end up producing a lot of heat and not any more power. So yeah, right there, we just jumped 80 degrees that fast. And then there are two thermal regulators, because a thermal regulator will remove 14 kilodTUs, and right now this is producing 45. So that is producing more heat than these can get rid of. This battery gets charged up. These run for as long as the steam turbine has, plus a bit, and you're good to go. I don't like using steam turbines because you don't really get a whole lot out of them. They are just deleting the heat. I like using petroleum boilers. Now I took this idea and said, well, how do I get 4 kilos a second out of it? Things I learned while trying to get this working is, I got some trash in there. 2 tiles and 1 door didn't transfer enough heat. I had to have 2 doors and 4 tiles to get enough heat in there. So that's why there are 2 doors, which also means I needed a space between them. In order to make this pipe monstrosity simpler, and I know looking at this does not look simple, it's the same thing happening over here. There's just 4 of it versus 2 of it. So you have the double bridges. These double bridges are so the input oil can jump and go into the liquid valve. And then this bridge pops up so that it can get to the other pipe. Same thing on the way out. We have a double bridge to get both pipes out at the same level. This one drops down to jump over the supercoolant. Same thing with the supercoolant coming around. Just cold enough to not freeze it. And then this pumps out 4 kilograms a second of oil going in. That is enough to run almost 30 natural gas generators. Just insane. And the total size is 12 by 24. I mean, that's just a ridiculous amount of power. Now, those of you who have worked or have looked at other videos on sour gas boilers, you might have heard that some run hot and some run cold. This is an example of one that runs hot. The difference is ones that run cold use the Aqua Tuners themselves to boil the oil. You just dump the oil in, the Aqua Tuner turns it into sour gas, and then you get rid of it. The reason these are referred to as running cold is the amount of heat it takes to boil the oil to sour gas. It takes more heat than you get from cooling it back down to methane. So you have to have tepidizers to warm up the methane side so that the Aqua Tuners work harder to produce more heat. This one runs hot because I'm using steam to store the heat and a better counterflow system with these 1 kilo packets. I don't have the phase change problem at the Aqua Tuner. So the Aqua Tuner can actually produce more heat because it's able to transfer it better. In this setup, I was trying to deal with one pipe. So one pipe will hold 10 kilograms of oil. This takes off 4. That leaves me with 6 kilograms left to deal with in one pipe. What I found was if I used radiant pipe pretty much at all, 5 to 6 kilos wasn't enough to cool down this Aqua Tuner. So I'm actually doing a counterflow with granite pipe. It is not efficient. It is not supposed to be efficient. Its job is to cool down this Aqua Tuner. And the fact that it's running mostly 5 kilos a second through it, you can see it turning off and on. That's more than enough petroleum to run all of your space program and anything else you want. Remember, you're already getting 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, nearly 30 natural gas generators worth of power from this side. If you want to burn this in a petroleum generator, fine. I don't know how much more power you need when you have 30 natural gas generators. For me, running 15 constantly is huge. So that is the setup. You go 4 wide here, mini liquid pumps, liquid valve set, actually 975 seems to be working. Liquid valve set to 975. Double pipes to move it out of there. Then once you have the natural gas, you can figure out how to get it to anything. Thermium Aqua Tuner with some diamond tiles. I find having a liquid reservoir just helps even out the heat. Set that to negative 175. Set that to 550. This you can set to 650. I figure 100-degree temperature range is more than enough. Up here, this one is set to 650, and all it does is turn on this liquid valve. This allowed me to turn the system off and on. That's all it does. These are set to 550 as well. You have this little cutout to fit them in. This sensor just says if there's oil or petroleum, pump it. This is a regular petroleum boiler. Set it to 403. It sucks the heat out, no problem. If it's not hot enough in here, this turns off the oil. You got no worries. Now, in my previous video, I did the startup on a different video, and apparently people were missing it. So on this video, I decided to build a whole nother one. On this one, I'm using the excess cooling from the liquid side, from the freezing side, to cool down the steam turbine. It should work. I haven't actually tried it. We'll figure it out. So to get this started, you want to pump some oil in. Not too much. Up to 100 kilograms is fine. Start up your Aqua Tuner. It's set to negative 175. Temperature-wise, I've got some space heaters down here running just because I put in cold supercoolant. This is all in the, 10 to 30 degree range. Nothing super hot, nothing super cold. So now this Aqua Tuner is going to start cooling down the supercoolant down to negative 175. These space heaters are down here just to make the Aqua Tuner work harder. That is their only job. Oop, these we gotta set. So this just makes this Aqua Tuner take longer to get to negative 175. So let's put it in fast forward mode. And we'll just watch the temperature come down over here. And we can also see whether or not the oil flashes. So right now the door is closed, so it's heating up the water. It's also heating up the oil. So all the heat the Aqua Tuner is creating is currently being eaten by other things. And this takes a couple of cycles. Most people get impatient. They put too much oil or too much water, and so it takes forever to turn to steam. It takes forever to boil, to flash this over, and so it's a hard thing to start up. You're pretty much going to turn this off and on a couple of times while this is getting up to temperature. All right, our steam flashed. Let's make sure we got this set correctly. Yeah, 650. Oop, above 650. Nope, we got that in the wrong. Oh, it would be helpful. All right, I might do another save if I actually hook up the automation wire. There we go. All right, so we wasted a bit of heat there. It happens. So yeah, we're at negative 90, but our steam is only at 130. So we got a long ways to go. So this is what these space heaters are down here for. They are just making this cool down slower, just pumping in heat. A lot of people use tepidizers. I just find dealing with tepidizers annoying because you got to have the right amount of liquid in them. They do take quite a bit of power. They would be faster, but it's not that big of a deal. So we're at negative 130. And we're about halfway there on the Aqua Tuner side. This needs to get to 550, and right now we're at 200. Yeah, so we're almost at the Aqua Tuner turning off stage. And where did we get up to? We got up to 250. Oh, we want to get back to the piping. So I see, and then I got down to negative 180, and now it's going to come back up. And so a lot of times when I was first starting this out, I would be like, oh, I got to make this colder and colder and colder, and then I'd end up freezing everything immediately. And really, it's just patience. What we're waiting is for this stuff to heat up, and it just takes some time. By this point, you have thermium, you have supercoolant, you have a space program. It can take as long as it needs to take. In the meantime, we'll kind of look over here. These run all nice and stably. Right now I've got a gas sensor in here just saying if it's above 20 kilos, pump it. And as you can see, we're running 6 pumps almost constantly. Same thing over here. For 2 kilos, it runs 3 pumps almost constantly. All right, so I'll pause you for a little bit. This is just going to turn on and off a few more times, and then the temperature will be up. All right, welcome back. We're just about at the point where the oil should flash over to petroleum. One thing I forgot to mention in my design is you see how these are double insulated? That's because liquid bridges, if one end is in a hot area, the other end will get hot. So you want the double insulation to cover it up. That's what I have going on over here, is just covering up the liquid bridges with insulation. Oh, look, it's petroleum. Just so you don't get heat bleeding out of it. The heat from the sour gas itself doesn't actually transmit through the insulated tiles, and these are just mafic, not insulation or ceramic. And they still don't let a whole lot of heat out, but if the bridge would. See, where are we at? Okay, so we got about another 100 degrees to go. I just thought I'd point that out right as the petroleum, or right as the oil was about to switch to petroleum. Now, I'm realizing that I put 100 kilograms of water per tile, and I should have done closer to 50. The closer you are to 50, the longer or the shorter it will take to warm up. But the temperature won't be as stabilized. So when you have 50 kilos, the temperature can swing faster. With 100 kilos, it doesn't swing as fast, but it takes longer to warm up. Yeah, it's just a waiting game. Be patient, and eventually you'll get up to the temperature. The nice part about this design is, here, we'll just do it over here. If your oil runs out, or if something happens and it gets starved of oil, all that's going to happen is this sour gas is going to condense. And eventually the cold side will eat all the sour gas in the entire column. You can see the pressure dropping. And once that happens, then there's no more chilling requirement. The Aqua Tuner just turns off. It no longer needs to do anything. See, we're already down to 100 grams. So this won't overheat, this won't overchill, the whole thing will just stop. The pressure is still dropping, but it's such a small amount the pumps aren't even running. And eventually it will condense itself all the way down to a vacuum. Once you figure out why your oil stopped, you just turn the oil back on. As soon as the oil gets up there, this whole area is still going to be plenty hot enough. The pressure of the sour gas goes up, the whole thing starts back up again. Supremely easy. All right, pause you again while we get those last few degrees. We're up to 420. So yeah, about another 100 degrees to go. And we are just about there. So this is 530, 540. This down here will always be a couple of degrees behind. Oh, there we go, the first bit flashed. Now when that happens, not all of it flashes at once. It takes a little bit. So here, let's turn those off. Need to connect power to the pumps because now there's going to be stuff pumping. These are set. And now we want to turn the oil on. These are set to 1 kilogram. The temperature up here, 550. Now because it's not doing a whole lot of condensing yet, there's not a whole lot of pressure yet. When this first turns on, this initial shot of sour gas will actually heat up this side. Even though we had it all down to 175, that burst of hot sour gas just warmed everything up. So now we gotta wait for it to cool down. So you turn off the oil for a little bit. Actually, no, this is staying up temperature-wise. So if you let the sour gas pressure get too high, then it can't condense it. So if you keep pumping oil, your pressure in here will get up to 100 kilograms, and it'll take forever for the system to cool it down. And what you'll end up doing is you'll end up flashing the methane into natural gas. It'll fill the column with natural gas, which can cause other issues. Yeah, see, there it goes. Which is a problem. So just be patient. All right, so that's now condensed. You see this temperature jumped up again, but we should be good. Yeah, negative 180. Perfect. So now we'll turn the oil on and we should be set. Any natural gas should get deleted by the liquid coming out of the valves. If your column does get completely filled with natural gas, just turn it off. Turn off the oil, the natural gas will condense, the pumps will pump it out, and you're good to go. So now we're just waiting for it to stabilize. All right, so there's plenty of heat up there. Yeah, see, this is what I was worried about. You see how this natural gas is packing everything? When that happens, the sour gas from the petroleum can't get through the natural gas. So, just turned off the oil. We'll wait for the cooling to catch up. In the meantime, we will deconstruct. Sorry, not in debug mode. We will get all this out of here because we don't need the heaters anymore. And we'll have our dupes put in some insulated tiles in order to keep the chill on this side. So now we'll just wait for this column to get cleaned up. And we'll kind of do in batches as little bits of it condense out. And natural gas is lighter than sour gas, so it will flow up to the top. And see, now that we have the sour gas out of the way, this whole column will condense down. And once it gets down to a couple hundred grams, we'll turn the oil back on, and we should be good to go at that point. Yeah, temperature in here is already up above 600. Because right now we have counterflow. And there it is. So now we have counterflow from the methane coming up, cooling down this side. We have counterflow heating up to the oil. This is set to 650, so we should see that kick on here pretty quickly. But yeah, that is the startup procedure. You know, I think I showed all of the things that go wrong with it. You just got to be patient. Using a tepidizer would heat that up faster, but then you'd have to pump liquid in, and you got to use supercoolant because ice or polluted water will freeze. I don't mind waiting a little bit. Again, you don't want to have too much water up here. You want to have 50 kilos would have worked better. 100 kilos is too much. But let's wait until we see the steam turbine kick on. Yeah, that's producing heat. These aren't hooked up to any automation. They're just pumping. Already down here we're 70 kilograms of natural gas. It's just a great little system that works. I have run it for hundreds of cycles, thousands of cycles on other maps. As you can see from the 2 kilo and the 4 kilo design, once they get stabilized, there's nothing you have to do but make sure you feed them with oil. Don't run out of coolant. You know, obviously if you run out of oil and you're still trying to, yeah. But even on this one, if you run out of oil, you don't need any more cooling. The petroleum boiling side will also turn off because there's no oil and no need for it. So after doing some science, able to make it smaller, more compact, more efficient. This is of all these sour gas boiler designs I've seen, this is the one I like the most. Like, it works. You can get more useful stuff out of it. Yep, that went off. Why are you idle? Oh, because this was below 125. There it is. Now the cooling's going, oil's going. So that's it. I will link the save file in the video. Now that I've actually done the science on it, I like the sour gas boiler even more. Thank you very much for watching. If you have questions, issues, post them in comments. We're all here to learn from each other and help out. You all have a wonderful day.